What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Learn It From a Hermit, episode 5. If you're new here, this is basically a series where I spin a wheel with all the names of the hermits on it, and then whatever hermit it lands on, I go over all the things that hermit can teach me about Minecraft that I don't already know. Last time we did our episode on Zedaf, and he actually saw it. That's right, Zedaf actually commented on that episode, which I thought was so cool. That is absolutely insane that a video I made actually reached a hermit. The guys that I've been watching for such a long time. That is so crazy to me. So if you didn't see the last episode, be sure to go check it out. I'll leave a link to my playlist with all the other episodes in the description. Now let's get into spinning the wheel to see who we're gonna get for this episode. All right, another wheel spin. Here we go. Who is it gonna be? Oh snap. Where do I even start? Etho is quite literally a legend in the Minecraft community. His Let's Play series is iconic. He's incredible at redstone. He makes literal music in Minecraft. Do I even need to continue? We all know Etho. Everyone loves Etho. Well, I think there is only one place to start when it comes to learning things from Etho, and that is the fact that you can place moss carpet on water. Just kidding. This is pretty cool though. So originally I thought that you had to bridge out kind of like this and you wouldn't be able to like place it on top of water. But I made a clip where I was trying to demonstrate this and then I accidentally double clicked one and then it stayed on top of the water. So I figured out if you just spam it real quick, the one on the bottom gets destroyed, but the top one stays. So then you could like bridge out kind of like this. And then you can have a little like island of pond algae to stand on. This is like every kid's dream. Moving on. It's not too often that you see a Minecraft player that is exceptional in multiple areas of the game, but Etho is great at redstone, like I said, designing farms, making music, making mini games, but let's talk about his building abilities. Just like every hermit, Etho has his own building style and I absolutely love it. And if you'll notice, in a lot of his builds, the color palette he uses is kind of similar to the colors of his Minecraft skin. I don't know if that's a coincidence, but I think it's cool and I love the color choices he uses for his builds. I like them so much that I made a little Etho house, literally. See? E-T-H-O. It's got a little Etho face right here. I thought that was kind of cool. I even did the roof and the back like he did it in season 10. I've always wanted to try building with these colors. I really like them together. His use of greenery is amazing. It makes his build look like they belong with the landscape and the environment he builds in. And on the topic of season 10, Etho has the frog lights permit, so he needed to build a frog light farm. And this was my introduction to how frogs and frog light farms work. If you didn't know, there are 3 different colored frogs and 3 different colored frog lights. Each color of frog gives you a certain color of frog light. You obtain frogs from a swamp or a mangrove swamp. Then you can breed them with slime balls. One of the frogs finds water and puts the eggs in it. The eggs turn into tadpoles after a little bit. You can then put the tadpoles in buckets and put them in different biomes to grow up to become different colors. If they grow up in a cold biome, they will be green. If they grow up in a hot biome like a desert or something, they will be white. They will also be white if they grow up in the nether. And if they grow up in a moderate temperature biome like a plains or forest or something, they will be orange. You get frog lights when a frog eats a small magma cube. The purple frog lights come from the white frogs, the yellow frog lights come from the orange frogs, and the green frog lights obviously come from the green frogs. These are some of the best decorative and lighting blocks in my opinion. There's probably going to be quite a bit of technical talk in this episode, so I'm going to try to sprinkle it around and not pile it in all at once. But my favorite thing about Etho is that he's very technical. He gets invested in why and how everything works, and he's always trying to make things as efficient as possible. And actually, one of the first things I learned from Etho a long time ago was this hopper trick where you can put a minecart hopper on the center of 4 different hoppers, which makes the system take in items at 4 times the speed of one hopper. This can be very helpful if you're building massive storage rooms and farms like he does. Minecraft is such a cool game for many reasons, but it's so cool to me that even someone as knowledgeable about the game as Etho is, there are still little things that he is only just learning in the last couple years or so, such as waxing copper in your inventory. If you don't know, you don't have to place a copper block to be able to wax it. You could just wax a whole stack of blocks, then place them. I thought this was pretty helpful when I saw this. In season 10 of Hermitcraft, Etho made a game similar to Frogger that he called Ravager Rush, and this game requires the player to die and set their spawn. So while he was building this game, he needed to find a good way to kill the player without losing their stuff. So he used a campfire, but not just a regular campfire, a soul campfire. And this is where I learned that soul campfires do more damage than regular campfires, which can be good information to have for building certain farms. We gotta talk about some things he's done in his Let's Play series. The most insane Let's Play series ever, and the first one being something that I literally just watched that blew my mind. Now this may or may not work in the future because it kind of seems like a bug, but just like last episode where I showed how you can bud power pistons, Etho shows us here that you can do the same thing with powered rails.
The empty shulkers get delivered to the top here. This is where I've really messed up. We gotta power this line up here somehow. We're walking over top hoppers right now. There's hoppers to the left of us underneath the composters and on the right, and there's nowhere to like squeeze a lever in there to power it from the side. And guess what happens if I put a redstone block on top of the power rails? We got these hoppers up here at our eye level as well, and they're staggered. So if we put one here, that hopper is going to get locked. If we put one here, the one on the other side is going to get locked. So there's like absolutely nowhere for us to power this. The good news though is that power rails have always been kind of interesting in this game. Kind of like how you can do the bud stuff with pistons, you can do the bud stuff with power rails as well, where they don't update like you would quite expect. Let's see if this works. If we remove this one, does it keep the charge? Oh, we lost one. I usually don't like doing this kind of stuff in my world because I'm always worried an update is going to change it where it's like, oh yeah, you know that power rail thing you used to always do? Yeah, we fixed that. But we don't really have much choice here, so I'm doing it. Very good. All right, we got it powered all the way down here, and we just left the 2 redstone blocks at each end where we don't have to worry about the hoppers getting locked.
My jaw hit the floor when I saw this. I tried this in my creative world and it still works, but it's very finicky. You got to do it just right. But this is really cool, and this can definitely come in handy if you're in a tight spot like Etho was in that clip. It was actually the same video about his storage room that I learned you can minimize the amount of items you need to sacrifice in your item filter system. And if you're not aware of how a filter system works, I'll explain the basics of it very quickly. So chances are, if you have an item filter system, it looks something like this, you know, a water stream with like a dropper that drops all your items. It runs across all your filter hoppers like this. You have your random filter items, which are usually renamed to something else. But basically the comparators read the signal strength from the hoppers. So as soon as that filtered item goes through this hopper, let's say this hopper filters light blue concrete. So we'll throw light blue concrete in that hopper, and then it will go up to 42. It'll drop right back down to 41 because it will raise that signal strength enough for this redstone to be powered, and then that repeater will detect it, and then that will shut off this redstone torch, which is powering this block, locking this hopper right here, not allowing it to take anything from this hopper. But once it breaks that threshold of 42, then it takes the items and puts them into the chest right here. So basically the problem was, with this design, you have to sacrifice 41 items into the system just to be able to filter these items. And Etho mentions here that the reason this happens is because this redstone here is touching. But if you go over to this design here, like he does, there's a 1 block separation in between all your item filters. So that way your redstone isn't touching back here, which means that you can actually take 41 filter items instead of using 41 of what you want to filter. So let's say you want to filter beacons or something expensive like that. You don't want to have to sacrifice 41 of those items into your system for it to work. So as you can see, we have our items right here that need to be filtered. So we just push this along. So then we have our hopper minecart going across the rails on top, dropping all the stuff off into the item filters. And then once that breaks the threshold of 2, then it just drops down into the chest like so. So it's going to take up a lot more space, but that way you don't need to go and get 41 items just for your filter system to work. Oh snap, it's that time in the video to switch it up and check out Etho's appearance on the Imp and Skiz podcast. Let's see what kind of wisdom he has to shed on us.
I think your style definitely, even today in the world of, you know, TikTok and scrolling and what do they call it, popcorn brain and stuff, your videos still stay very grounded, and it's almost like, I guess I'm going to ask you a question here. Have you felt the need over time to change your style because those trends were going that direction to more like, you know, shorts, TikToks, and people wanting their quick dopamine hits and those quick cuts and higher energy? Have you ever like felt the pull to change because of that? Or have you just always said, no, this is the way I'm doing it and it works, I'm just going to stay on course?
Oh, for sure. Like, even in the name, like Let's Play, that means I'm bringing you along with me in the ride kind of thing. And nowadays, like even with Minecraft videos, it feels like people are just showing things a lot more. And it's like you just take it in, right? But you don't really include yourself in the process. It's just like it feeds that dopamine, but it doesn't give you much value. While a Let's Play is like it takes you and it makes you think and tries to get you to decide how you would make decisions and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, you almost allow your audience to get more invested because they're doing it with you as far as they're concerned, not just being shown what you did.
Yeah.
I thought this was a great thing to take note of as a content creator. You can have your own style and do what you know you will enjoy doing and make it work. This is yet another thing that I love about Etho's content. Just about every single video of his, there's at least one thing to be learned, and I think that's because his videos are a little longer because he likes to bring his audience on the journey with him and walk us through his thought process while he problem solves and comes up with these brilliant contraptions. I think there's a lot to be said about Etho's content, especially if you are a content creator, or especially if you want to be a content creator, but you haven't started yet because you don't have the right equipment or don't know how to make thumbnails or whatever the case may be. Well, let me put this into perspective. At the time I'm recording this, Etho has 2.5 million subscribers. He doesn't make custom thumbnails. He doesn't go crazy with edits. He doesn't have a set upload schedule. Matter of fact, he doesn't even upload very often at all. And people still love watching him. Now, I know he's been playing for a long time. He was making Minecraft videos basically right when the game came out, and he's done many great things, but he has stayed true to his style and it has worked fantastically for him. So let that be a little inspiration for anyone who thinks they quote unquote aren't good enough for content creation or whatever it may be. Everyone starts at zero. You just got to learn as much as possible as you go. That's why I make these videos. Which brings me into the next thing I learned from Etho. In Season 10, he made a little ink farm in the lake by his base using guardians to shoot squids, and to collect the ink sacs, he used allays, and this is where I learned that allays are attracted to a note block that is getting a constant pulse. This is also where I learned that if you put a certain mini block or player head on the note block, it will mute so you don't have to hear that annoying note block sound. And this is a great segue to talk about Etho's incredible talent with note blocks. I love that he uses note blocks in a lot of his redstone builds to signify certain things, like when he used a few different tunes that were hooked up to daylight sensors in his villager trading station so he could tell when the villagers were renewing their trades or not. Very, very clever. So I built this a long time ago. This was actually inspired by Etho, of course, and this is probably the only circumstance that I'm going to be able to show this off. So I was just on Minecraft, I was bored, and I just had this song stuck in my head because my girlfriend was watching The Little Mermaid. So then I was like, ooh, I kind of want to make that song. I want to see if I can do it. And it's a little off, but here it is. Yeah, so it's far from perfect. It's very, very basic. And then this one over here, I'm pretty sure Etho made like the entire song, but let's see if you can recognize it. So yeah, nothing too crazy. I was just bored one night and did that, thought I would show it off. But I'm pretty sure it was Etho that taught me years ago that when you put different blocks under a note block, the note block will make different sounds. So I definitely think that's worth mentioning. And a couple more small things that I think are worth mentioning are things that I just caught a glimpse of or still need to test that some people might not have caught while watching Etho's videos. Either that or they already know about these things, but we're gonna test it right here. One of the things I noticed was in episode 586 of his Etho Plays series, where he was cleaning up some random chests that were laying around, and he went into this room with a furnace system, and in the chest next to that furnace system, there was a bunch of popped chorus fruit. Now we learned in the B-dubs episode that you can make end rods with popped chorus fruit, and to get it, you need to smelt chorus fruit in a furnace. But also in this chest was a bunch of purpur blocks, so this made me question, can you craft purpur blocks? So we're gonna test it right now, and if it doesn't work, then this is just gonna get cut out of the video, but here it is. You can, that's really cool. I did not know that. That's awesome. It seems like every one of these videos that I make, I learn a new crafting recipe that I didn't know about. The other thing I caught was a few episodes before that, he was building his storage system, and someone asked a question about how his system works, and while answering that question, he talked about why he used hoppers instead of droppers.
So there's options with this. One option, you could switch from hoppers to droppers. Droppers have 9 slots, so you'd only need 3 droppers per shulker box. Downside with using droppers is you would need to control them with redstone, while hoppers are just automatic.
And that made me think, wait, we learned from the Izuma episode that crafters automatically drop items straight into storage blocks like chests, barrels, and shulker boxes. Do droppers do the same thing? So let's test it. I mean, I think it would make sense because, yes, it does. Yeah, that makes sense because the recipe for the crafter actually includes a dropper, so it makes sense that it would function the same as a crafter, so that's pretty cool. That's really, really good to know. I can't believe I didn't question this earlier. And while I was recording some clips for this video, I found two more small things that I didn't know. And one is that if you have slowness, it only affects you when you're on the ground. So if you sprint jump, you're almost at normal speed. And the other one is that even if you put a bottom slab on top of honey blocks, it'll still make you move as if you're walking directly on honey blocks. I just love that I can even learn things from Etho when I'm not even trying to find new things about the game. Now this next little fun fact was an interesting one, and I really want to do this myself in my own world. It's bombs. So Etho made these time bombs with a ton of TNT minecarts, which are known for being tricky to work with. And here we learn one reason why they can be so troublesome.
Let's do one more time bomb here. This one's going to be a bit more unpredictable. I don't know what it's going to do. Let's do it. Oh, it's moving. Oh, why did it move? Oh, that scared me so bad. Oh, snap. Okay, I think I got it figured out now. And honestly, this explains so much, like why our traps always backfire on us in the life series. So they actually get placed with a little bit of momentum. I don't know if that's a bug in the game or what, but it's either towards the north or the south. I'm not sure which one. And if there's multiple minecarts there, when it gets placed with a bit of momentum, it nudges the other one in either this direction or this direction, north or south, I'm not sure. So we want the rail to cancel that momentum by having it this way. If the rail is this way, it's just free to go wherever it wants and blow up early. Okay, so this time, because it's east and west, we're fine. I'm backing away fast though. Oh, it kind of shot out this way a bit. That was pretty good.
Very interesting. It totally depends on which way the rails are going. Such a weird feature of the game, but that's definitely good to know if you want to build this. Now, while I hopefully have your attention, I just want to say go check out Etho's channel. Hit the subscribe button if you somehow haven't already. Make sure you go check out his content and see what you can learn from Etho, because if I had to pick someone who teaches me the most about Minecraft, Etho would definitely be in the top 3, if not number 1. There's no way I'm going to be able to fit all the amazing things that Etho has done all in this video, so I'm just going to go over the things that have stood out to me personally. So I apologize if I left out some of his iconic moments or builds because there are just so many of them. But one of his more recent ones was when he and Tango built the mail system in Hermitcraft Season 10 so the hermits could send items thousands of blocks away to each other in seconds. It's just unbelievable the kind of things the hermits do in this game. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if you want to see Etho explaining how the system works, it's on his Season 10 Episode 3 of Hermitcraft. I'll just mention the most basic elements of this system. So they use nether portals as chunk loaders in the nether, so once someone sends something from their mailbox, it goes into the nether, then it loads that portal in the nether, then a minecart hopper is sent to a specific portal, depending on who it's being sent to, and as it goes down the line, it activates a line of portals so the chunks in the nether can be loaded, even when there isn't a player nearby. Hope that makes sense, but this was just mind-boggling to me. The idea of a hopper minecart activating a line of chunk loaders as it goes down the line so it can get to its destination is genius. Which leads me to the next thing I want to pay respect to. Etho is known as a pioneer in Minecraft. Not just because he's been playing the game for so long, but because he's so inventive in the game. I can't go without mentioning his famous Etho hopper clock design that he came up with years ago that is still used by so many people after all these years. I love how he doesn't really give himself boundaries in the game. If he has an idea and wants to do it, he finds a smart solution to it, and it never fails to amaze me. His hopper clock design is so satisfying to me because it just makes sense. So if you're not aware of how it works, let me explain it really quick. So you have two hoppers going back and forth. So if I have two hoppers just like this with no other components, and then you put one item in it or any amount of items in it, it's just going to bounce back and forth between the hoppers. But let's say I put a redstone block or a redstone signal next to this hopper, then it locks this hopper and doesn't allow it to give out anything else into the hopper that it's connected to. So as you can see, we have that redstone signal moving from hopper to hopper, and we determine the speed of which this redstone signal gets moved from hopper to hopper, and we do that by putting however many items in we want. So if we put more, then it's going to take longer. So we can literally make this take as long as we want, up to whatever time this adds up to if you fill this up. But as soon as this hopper is empty, the signal moves over to the other hopper. And the way that it's doing that is we have comparators right here that are reading the signal strength of this hopper. And the comparator reads the signal strength, puts it into this block, and then any signal strength will activate this redstone here, which will activate this piston. So when it activates, it will extend this piston out, pushing the redstone block over to the other hopper. And obviously we have that on both sides. So if you'll see, this comparator right here will flick, which will unpower this piston, allowing this piston to push that redstone block back over to this one. And it just goes back and forth. It's just like a timer. And the other function of this redstone block can actually be to activate something on the other side. So let's say we want this note block to go off every, 20 seconds. Then we can just do the math and then add however many items, add up to 20 seconds. And then as you can see, it will take that long for that note block to go off. He also has a silent version of this that doesn't require pistons at all, so it's just not noisy. And I won't get into that, but this is just absolutely genius. We are about to wrap up this episode, but I want to mention one more thing. Just because it's etho, I want to end on a good one, so here it is.
Beavers actually have orange teeth. Often in cartoons, they're shown with white teeth, but they have iron mixed in with the enamel that turns it orange.
I'm kidding. Not gonna lie, I was way too, awed by that fun fact when I heard it. But anyways, for the final thing I learned from Etho, I definitely wanted it to be storage related because he's really big on having a nice storage system. Well, this design here really intrigued me because it's essentially an item filtering system with no item filters in a way. There's something about this room that he has with the shulker boxes everywhere and everything organized and the color palette I mentioned earlier. I don't know, it's just really satisfying to me. So I had a few things to take away from this design.
So this is a multi-item sorter that works without really any redstone. It's just a special arrangement of hoppers, water streams, and then hopper minecarts running through that, distributing the items between the hoppers, like what doesn't get picked up and all that stuff. And you have to keep one item in the spot for it to collect that item there. Yeah, let's check this out. So all we got to do is drop stuff off in this chest and it'll distribute it through our multi-item sorter. So if we drop off a stack of mud, and the idea is once a full stack collects here, then we take it out and we put it into our longer term storage over here in the floor. So you see it's dropping off 16 items at a time. Hopper minecarts are making their way through the water streams here. But overall, it's working pretty good. The cup was here, by the way.
So I already knew that minecarts were affected by water, so they're getting pushed by the water. But for some reason, I never thought to put a minecart in a bubble elevator, so that was a cool thing to get introduced to. And something that all Etho's crazy contraptions have inspired me to do is open my mind up to just different ways of doing systems. Experimenting with new designs, trying to come up with my own designs for certain things. So I will definitely start doing that more in the future because I think that is a great way to improve my redstone abilities significantly. So that is gonna do it for this episode of Learn It From a Hermit. It is an honor to do an episode about such a Minecraft legend. Etho is one of the best. And ever since Zedaf commented on that video of mine, it made me realize that I have some serious potential to reach more hermits with these videos, and that would just be so cool. That would be an amazing way for me to show my gratitude for all the things that they have taught me and for the fact that I'm even creating content today. Without them, I wouldn't be this interested in Minecraft or content creation in general, so I really owe it to them for being such a massive inspiration. So if you would, please consider subscribing, liking the video, and all that good stuff. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. And I know people say it a lot, but thank you so much for watching. You guys are amazing, and I will see you in the next video.